Alright, so now is the time to paint our character. Woo! Okay, so we're going to switch to paint tools, and we're going to switch to the paint layers. And what we're going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and just trash this layer. I don't really need that. I was just using that as a guide. The thing is, it's not very, what do you call it? It's not responsive. So I'm actually going to hit page down to go down a level. And you'll notice that it actually goes down levels pretty quick. It's going up levels that it typically has more difficulty with. As you can tell, it's still actually trying to do it. But it should be able to go down okay. It's when you go up levels that it takes a little bit longer to do. So I'm going to go down one level, maybe 2 levels, depending on how responsive this is while painting. But you want to go down as far as you can, just so that you can have it more responsive. But obviously, the higher resolution your sculpt is, the easier it will be to paint it accurately. So that's kind of the lump sum of it here. And it is taking a while. Okay, let's see how responsive it is. Seems pretty responsive, actually. I don't think this is going to be a problem. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is paint our base colors, which I already did because we did that in a previous one. But usually what I'll do is I'll add another layer on top of that one. And so I'll just do another one, and we'll just call this secondary colors, or let's call it detail colors. We'll call it detail colors. Okay, so I'm just going to add another layer on it called detail colors, hopefully. And for that, I'm just going to paint all of the detail stuff. So I have, like, if you look right now, what I have is I have everything painted as their like whole colors. Like each section is its whole color, but none of the other aspects of them are painted. Okay. So I'm trying, okay, there it goes. Jeez, I didn't, okay. So I'm on the detail layer. I'm going to go to the paintbrush, and actually I'm going to do eyedropper. I'm going to eyedrop this. So some details that I have is that he's supposed to have these like stripes here. I'm just going to go ahead and use the steady stroke to make this a little bit easier to work with. And I'm going to go ahead, it's still solid colors, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint this stripe like so. And maybe I don't want to do that. Hang on. Let's do, what does this one look like? It's a little bit of fuzz, but I don't want, that's too fuzzy. So we're going to add our own. I'm going to click on this, and we're going to add a fall off. So now I have this fall off. And let's see, how do I adjust you? Double click. There is a way to adjust this. Right here, fall off. Okay, so I want to have it be mostly solid, but I want to have a little bit on the end just to, oops, I didn't want to put a point there. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. So we'll put this one here, and I'm going to go like this, and we'll just, let me see. If I pull this guy off. I see how it works. Get rid of that one. Okay. And I'm just going to make it kind of a rounded thing here, so that way it is, keep this even. All right. Store. To fall off. There it is. Okay, so I want this one. This guy, can I just right click and delete you? Let me see. Delete. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to use this guy here. And let me see. Yeah, that's still a little bit rough. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can round it out just a little bit more. I'm just trying to get it so it's mostly straight, but has a little bit of softness on the edge. And we'll call that good enough. Okay, so let's make this also just a little bit smaller, because it's supposed to be pointed on the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw my stripe. And then we'll draw it on the back. Right, and then I'm going to draw it on this end. I did a great job. Totally is not right, but whatever, I'm just going to do it like this. Just so you get the idea. I'm going to probably redo all this anyway for myself, just because I like Wolverine and I'd like to have something that looks nice, but for the purposes of you guys, I don't care. Okay, so go like that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off steady stroke now, and we can make this a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to paint all this in. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Right, so oink. Okay. just using my brackets instead of holding B. Just a little bit easier for some things. Let's see. So some of this is, the problem is that the resolution is only so high. So I can actually see the pixels. I did this at 2048. If I did 4096, which when I do my actual one, that's what I'll probably use. Because this is just too low resolution. The 2048, I feel like it's just not high res enough for, I can't get a nice looking line here. And I would like to have a nice looking line because why not? I deserve it. And then we'll just go ahead and I guess draw my stripes here. I'm just going to do it crappily because I don't really care. Right? And then we'll just fill that in. Okay. Alright, imagine I did the other side too. It's supposed to go all the way around. And then there was also supposed to be like stripey stripes on this too. So I'm just going to draw this coming down the side, this one coming down the side. Imagine I did a good job. I just don't want to waste your time watching me do it. Alright, so, ooh, okay, and this is supposed to go down. And there's supposed to be like an X thing in here. Right? Yay. Okay. Oh, that's supposed to be an X. Good. There's an X. And anything else that would be like that that you would want to paint the details on, I would paint on the on like the details, right? So the stuff that kind of goes inside. So if your guy's got tiger stripes, or he's got like a logo on his shirt, or anything like that, that's basically the color but it's planted onto it. That would be the next thing I would do. So I would do base colors, then that. Then from there, we can do some other things as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do another layer, and I'm just going to call this my variation layer, and I will hit OK. And this one, what I'm going to do is, oh, another thing I want to show you too on this. Okay, let's see if it crashes. So just be wary that we've got to wait for the computer to be ready. Okay. So I'm going to click back on my details. You can see how it's like kind of sharp here. I can see the aliasing. If I hold shift, I can actually blur it out. Oh, that was way too much. But if you need to blur out your stuff, you can actually blur it out just like you smooth for your other things. Okay, so just so you know. Anyway, I'm going to go to my variation layer here. And with this selected, I'm going to do this. I'm going to switch to the airbrush. That's what I want. Yeah, we'll go with airbrush. And then I'm going to choose a color. What options do they have for airbrush? Nothing too fancy. We're going to go with that. I'm going to choose my options, and I'm just going to go ahead and do just random colors. So I'm going to do, let's say, we'll start with do green here, like that. And all I'm going to do is kind of rainbow puke. So I'm just going to go boom, 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 all the way through. Okay, and I'm just pitter-pattering, just clicking, 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 clicking. I'm just using my mouse because I don't feel like going through it all over the whole guy, particularly around his skin. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and choose another color. Go over here, and then just make sure it's weak sauce. You can see I got like 6 here. Let's do this color, and we'll hit OK. All right, and then you're just going to, again, pitter-patter, like so. Okay. Especially on the skin, because the skin has a lot of variation. It kind of depends on what you're making and what have you, but anyway, so then we do blue, and then I'll just go, I'm just going to kind of go around the color wheel here. All right, and what I would tell you to do too with this is that you should, so I'm just pittering. You should do, depending on what you're trying to do, like if your character is supposed to be like a cool color, like maybe it's a villain or something, and it's got more cools, start with your warm colors and then work around to the cool colors. If your character is supposed to be, you know, warm, generally, then start at the warm colors and work your way around to the cool colors. Okay, that way the whatever colors last is going to be on top of the first one, and so it should have more prominence. So click on that again, and we'll go to here, and this will be the last one of my variation. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of pitter-patter. Oops, don't mind that. Pitter patter, pitter 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 pitter, patter 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 patter, pitter patter pitter patter pitter patter pitter patter 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 patter. Okay, helps if you make weird noises while you're doing it. And it seems kind of pointless and what have you, but just so you can see it without it and with it, it adds a little variation. Okay. Now, particularly with the skin, it's really important. So if you're like, oh, I don't really like the look of it, I would still suggest doing it on the skin. The other thing I'm going to do with this layer, just to make sure that it doesn't, because if I went really strong on an area, it would override the colors there. You can actually switch this and just go to like hue. And all that's going to do is only add hue information. So it won't override any of the value. Okay. I kind of like it with the normal because I feel like it dingies it a little bit, which I think is beneficial. But you might not want that. So that's kind of up to you. But I like to do a variation because it just breaks up the color. So it's not just one solid color, because very few things are, right? It makes it look cartoony and unrealistic. And you could totally like just go nuts with it and just do all sorts of varying. And then, depending on how much, you could take this and I'd be like, oh, I want less of it. I can take the opacity of it, go down or go up. I could turn it off. I could delete the layer. Okay. There's lots of options. So just play around with it, see what you can get and see if something looks good. But the airbrush is good for that just because it's very fluffy, if you will. Okay. So that's fine. That looks good. The next thing I'm going to do is we'll call it rosiness. So I'll make a new layer again, and we're going to call this one rosiness. Okay, I'm going to select that. And I want to use, actually pretty close to this color. I'm going to click on this color. Oh, it's going to be mad at me. Hang on a second. I jumped too early. It's going to be all trying to die on me again. Oh, maybe not. And you want to do a sort of burnt orange color. And we'll hit OK. And this is meant to be typically at like capillaries and things like that. It's going to be, if you look at your fingertips, they're pinker. This is for the pinkness of those. Okay. So I'm going to stick with my airbrush here and I'm going to put it on areas that deserve it. So I'm going to put a little bit here. Maybe a little bit there, maybe a little bit there. Now, if he had skin for fingers, I would add a little bit there. I'm just going to do it so you can see it. It'll make it look more like there's blood flow going there. But obviously, the only thing he really has is this and his skin here. So I'm just going to add a little bit onto his chin and his lips. His lips should have some, a little bit around the nose. And we'll add a little bit of pinkness around his thing. And on the rosiness too, just while we're at it, I'm just going to go ahead and do the opposite. And that's going to be this color. And this is for areas that kind of don't have that. So usually there's the rosy color, yellow is another one, or this color. And I'm going to put this, let's make this a bit bigger, around there. And I don't like it. I'm going to undo that. Let's do... Looking for more of like a, let's do that. That's a little better. Just so that it gives them more of a 5 o'clock shadow in there. But areas that I don't want to have that, I would kind of do the opposite and make it look less lifelike, okay? And that's my rosiness layer. All right, and that's going to just kind of add variations. You can see he's starting to look a little more realistic. All right, now the next layer. I know there's a lot of these layers, and this will be pre-shading. And what this is for, it's basically to bump it up a notch, okay? So there's a couple ways we can go about doing this. I'm not going to have us do this next thing. I'm not going to have us do it the one way just because it will look nice and it'll work, but I found that it's... If we were at the school, we have the school's computers, and I know it can handle it, but for instance, I just got a video card this semester, and the previous semester, my video card burned out, so I was just running off the CPU, and this actually wouldn't run. There's a thing you can do when you go and you extract texture maps and you can make what's called an ambient occlusion map. And what it does is it will darken crevices and cavities. There's also cavity map, although I don't think they have that in here. It'll darken like areas kind of that are occluded or kind of in shadow and not others. We're going to do it manually instead. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it manually besides that other thing that we're not going to use. One is the dry brush. So I'm going to select dry brush. And what dry brush does is this. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab this, and we're just going to go, and I'm going to do a, that color, okay? what dry brush does is this. It will, you can actually tell by the graphic, it will, on areas that are up, it will paint color, and then on crevices, it will skip them. So you're going to see that, like, if I paint, for instance, over him, his chest here, you're going to see that the inside is not being painted and the outside is. But what's neat about this is that you can do the opposite. So just like everything else, if I hold control, this will go to the inside. And now you can see it's painting instead to the crevices and not to the outside parts. And what that does is it sort of helps accentuate, if you will, the so I'm holding control as I'm painting this, the creases and cavities and such, and it'll kind of that's why it's pre-shading. It'll make it stick out more, and you can see the features of your model much better by doing this pre-shading thing. So it's kind of patina if you've ever done any sort of so you can see like in here, right? Totally just sticks inside there. All right, and then let's make this brush smaller and see if it will catch in here. It's not really. That's pretty disappointing. I was kind of hoping it would. All right, but like here, this definitely, this should, yeah, there we go. Might not want to accentuate that too much, but it will basically look for the crevices and such, right? And that will make it look better and makes it pop more. So you can see, right, our guy's definitely got a lot more pop, okay? See if we can do a little in there. All right. Now we can do the opposite. So I want to do like a cool dark color. And then if we just do the opposite, so we do something that's like a warm, bright color, that will lighten it. Now with this one, generally, I would do this a bit weaker. So like half the strength of the last one. Last one I had was like 20. Let's do like, I don't know, 6, let's say. And what this is going to do is it will lighten the areas that stick out. So, okay. So, might find this useful, might not. I don't find this one as useful as doing the darkening, but you might like it. So, like, for his face mask, actually, because it's dark generally, this would probably be good, because it'll add a little more variation to it. Help like the ear and stuff catch, right? That kind of a thing. So now you can see, I kind of see the details now of his ear where you couldn't see it before. Okay. So it does that sort of thing. Now, and then the other way of doing it, which I like this way, honestly, I mostly probably do it this way, but the other way of doing it is just manually doing it. Grab an airbrush and then just, I would go really low. Let's just do, again, a dark, kind of a dark, cool color. And then just, you know, just brush in where you want it to be. There we go, a little bit higher. A little bit higher. There you go, that's way too high. And then you can just kind of manually brush in where you feel like there should be, you know, lightness and darkness. And the Lord said, let there be pre-shading. I think that's how it went, right? Can't remember. Okay. So you get kind of the idea there, right? And so now we have some pre-shading. Yeah, so that's pre-shading. That looks pretty acceptable. And then after that, we could add other ones. So when I did the detail colors, I probably should, I could add another one on top of this that's like detail colors. So like, let's say my character has zippers or things like that. Because I definitely like, see right here he has a seam and stuff. I didn't really put anything in there. Probably makes sense to like draw a darker stripe in there or something to try and like break things up. This might have more details into it. Things where you could paint like more specific stuff, right? But I'm not too awful concerned with it, but just, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, so we'll call that good as far as the diffuse, our color is concerned, and then in the next one we're going to do the specular. Okay.